Welcome back, everyone. Today I got another song analysis video for you guys. I'm going to be doing another song off of the album Descendants of Cain. It was recently asked by a viewer that I just do the rest of this album, and it's one of my favorite rap albums of all time, so say no more, will do. I'm going to start with Patron Saints today since that was requested by the same viewer. It starts with a sample from The Robe, 1953's The Robe. Does one crime erase another? Friend, shall we not turn dishonest because life is hard? So this is just a small quote that reflects a lot of the themes that pop up in pretty much all the songs on this album and almost all the songs in Cause discography. This idea of keeping your morals strong while times are tough, and how that relationship plays. How much can you bend the law when you're starving and such? So I get into the first verse here. First line is, all our Santas carried them hammers. Now, Santas is a weird word to use here, but I think what this means and what I got from the little genius anecdote there, I try not to read too many of them because I want to give you guys my original thoughts, but Santas was a weird word for him to use. So I think what he means by this is like just people you look up to, role models. All of our Santas carried them hammers, so all of the role models that he looked up to in life carried guns. Our guidance counselors was talented scramblers. This is another cool line. I think this means that the people in his life that were giving him guidance, that were giving him advice, were people who were scrambling for advice themselves. Sometimes you meet people in life and they try to give you advice on a certain situation, and it just feels like they're fumbling around for random tidbits that they can give at you just to make it seem like they're useful in that situation without actually giving you anything of substance, anything that's like truly useful knowledge. And that's what I think he means by talented scramblers, scrambling for any sort of guidance, even if it's bad guidance. Spiritual leaders ran a number hold. Tycoons moved invests and kept a money roll. Now, I think tycoons invests is like big Wall Street guys, with the vests. I think that's what vests means. I mean, vest could mean bulletproof vest, but I think the tycoons invests means like just these elites, if you want to call them that keep money stashed up. We brought the noise, gun and bust, none of us altar boys. So pretty simple line there. None of us altar boys is kind of a cool way of saying that we weren't innocent. We came in guns blazing. With army issue, harm a tissue, we ain't walk with toys. So that's just another cool rhyme scheme there. With army issue, so he's carrying army issued guns, which means he's got big guns. Harm a tissue, so obviously like harm skin tissue with bullets, I'm assuming. We ain't walk with toys, so he didn't have any fake guns. He walked with real army issued, like true guns. Some people walk in the street with fake guns, and that's a horrible idea. The rawest form of any wars one New York deploys. The rawest from any wars one of New York deploys. It's a little bit of a muddy line there, but I think that just means that like there's war grounds in New York that people don't know about, like Brownsville. Places where people are getting shot at constantly, and it almost feels like a war zone at times. Made orphan Annies like all the families court destroys. So here he's juxtaposing the killing of innocent people in the streets, killing of other, I assume, black people, and that makes orphans out of young children, much like how family courts split up families and stop children from oftentimes seeing their father. Sometimes it's the mother, but oftentimes it's the father. So he's just talking about how our stupid decisions, shooting guns in the street, and the courts both have this hand in splitting up families and making young children orphans. It's the elder man sold things, pray I never sell again. Sold things, I pray I never sell again. So I'm assuming that's drugs or guns. He's just praying that he never has to go back to those ways of selling things that harm people. It's one thing to sell drugs to get by, but at the end of the night, you got to really think. And, maybe the next day walking through the streets, you got to see, like, what effect that has on the people that you sold those drugs to, especially when they're hard drugs, which, I mean, isn't explicit in the song, but is somewhat assumed. Sun Trust, Bum Rush, They Ain't Let Us In. The lepers infected us, said it was medicine. The Sun Trust line is a little bit obvious, but that the lepers infected us, said it was medicine, I think that's in reference to like Big Pharma and all these drugs that are pushed out that are placebos, a lot of them. I think at least 50% of prescribed medication is placebo effect. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but basically what he's referencing here is like people gave us things that they said were medicine, but were really making them as sick as the people that were giving it to them. And yeah, that's definitely the case in the world. Well, life's tribal, fight for survival. That's all it's ever been. A little bit of a bleak perspective there. Well, life's tribal. Yeah, it certainly is. There's always going to be tribal aspects. I don't know. I mean, some scientists think that this will happen, but I don't think like skin color is ever going to go away. I don't think unique cultures are ever going to go away. The planet's just a little bit too big. I mean, unless we really fill it out with people, but yeah, I mean, it's always going to be somewhat tribal. Fight for survival. I mean, you can get to a spot where you're not fighting for survival, but yeah, that is very much true over human history and all of history on Earth, really. That's all it's ever been. Sure, hopefully it can become better one day, but yeah. Nothing blessed, even the bonds of friends are tested. So he's saying, like, nothing blessed, basically meaning, like, don't trust anything. Somewhat, and even the bonds of friends are tested, so like even your best friends in life, the people that are closest to you, you're gonna have to test those relationships. I mean, not like go out of your way to test them, but they're gonna get tested over time regardless, and those tests are really gonna tell you who your true friends are. You might be a person out there who thinks that they have hundreds of friends, maybe even thousands of friends, maybe you got thousands of followers on your Instagram, and not because you're like a content creator, but just because you think that you know a lot of people. But how many of those people would actually like go to bat for you in any situation? How many of those people would not so much just die for you, and that's a lot to ask of somebody, but how many of those people would truly have your back when it came down to it? And my guess is probably very, very few. I think a lot of people in the world don't even have one person that they can call a true friend that would, you know, that would put themselves in jeopardy for the safety and well-being of you. So just something to think about. It's a great line. Would you surrender if you did, but your man's arrested? If you did it, but your man's arrested. So this is another really cool line. It's kind of taking the inverse of the whole stitches get snitches thing. So if you went to jail, or sorry, if your friend went to jail, would you confess to the thing that he's being put in jail for? Because he got hit wrong. Like, he's not the one who's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be you, and you know that in your heart. So would you, fess up and take his place rightfully to save your friend, or would you kind of cower away and be like, whew, missed a bullet there? I think most people would choose the latter, to be honest with you, but it's important to try to keep in mind that you should be striving to take the place of your friends, even if you dodged a bullet there and he got caught, and you should stand up for your friends like that. So cool line there by Ka. It's interesting to see the reverse side of that. Our peacekeepers bust they gun repeated. So he's talking about peacekeeper. He uses the word peacekeepers here, which is funny because he could have said police, but he used peacekeepers to have that word peace in there to kind of juxtapose the bust they guns repeated. Yeah, that is the case in some situations and scenarios. I know there are cops out there that are horrible people and they're ego-tripping maniacs who just want to bully people, and sometimes that leads to unjust killings. That's for sure. There are still a lot of good cops out there. I think it's like everything. It's 50-50 or somewhere in that range. So yeah, that is a perspective that I do hear a lot from impoverished black communities, that cops are always shooting people, and there is something to that. I'm not saying there's not, but our caregivers stole everything we needed. It's D-Day each week in BK. You see us here grimacing. So it's D-Day each week in BK, BK being Brooklyn. It's D-Day. I think that just means like back to the other line. It's a war zone. People are fighting for food. Our caregivers stole everything we needed. Yeah, that could just be parents eating more food than they should. It could be parents taking money from kids that they earned, or it could be a lot of things. But never marinate on beef you don't plan on finishing. This is one of my favorite lines in any hip-hop song ever, because it's something that we should all think about, and it's an amazing metaphor because it's consistent. Never marinate on beef you don't plan on finishing. So obviously there's all the eating references there, but don't think about troubles and hating on people and toxic situations. Don't be like dwelling on that stuff if you don't plan on finishing those situations. And you should plan on finishing those situations. If something's bothering you, you should confront it and finish it and conclude that whole mess. But if you're just going to sit around and marinate on the things that you actually don't plan on solving, it's just going to drive you insane, obviously. Because every effort for the record, we ain't here scrimmaging. Every effort for the record, we ain't here scrimmaging. I think this means like everything he did was like 100%. Like if I'm going to rob you, I'm going to rob you 100%. We're not here scrimmaging. Scrimmaging, for you, those of you who don't know, is like playing a game of like hockey or pickup basketball or football when you're kind of just playing with loose casual rules, maybe not even full equipment. You're just kind of having fun playing the game softly. He's saying we're not doing any of that. We're playing the games hard, full rules, full contact. Soon as sun starts shining, they try to diminish him. This is a great line too. So soon as somebody starts really doing well, people around them will oftentimes tear them down to bring them back down to the level that everybody else is on. And this is very sad because you'll find this happening with the people who aren't really your friends, but sometimes you'll find it happen with the people who you thought were your close friends. Sometimes you'll find it happening with family members. This is something that I've found in my case too. Like having just the dream of starting this channel is something that my parents could never conceive of, and it doesn't even work in their mind that this could work, that this could be successful. And they try their best not to like push that way of thinking onto me, but it does come out from time to time, and it's like, that sucks. And part of it's like they have a limited scope on what they think is possible, but if somebody's succeeding in your life, you should always be trying to push them up, because the more you push them up and push them up honestly, the more they're gonna look back down and be like, hey, come up here with me, man. They're gonna pull you up. So it's important to push your friends up, don't push them down. The nay behavior made us braver, thicker armor. The nay behavior made us braver, thicker armor. So I think this is just like going through tough times, acting brash. This makes for thicker armor. The toughest people I know in life have been through hell. I know a lot of people have said something similar to that, and it's very true. The people who I find in my life who have the most honor and integrity are the people who have been through a lot of stuff. The people in my life who haven't been through much, relative to other people, they're a little bit more flaky. They haven't really lived life yet. They don't really know what true suffering is. And when you know what true suffering is, you know what can hurt other people. So you're a little bit more wiser, longer in the tooth, I guess. Where was I? Ain't kill who you aimed at, came back as quick as karma. So if you're not killing who you're aiming at and you're hitting stray bullets and catching other people, that karma is going to come back and hit you. Whether it's heavy remorse for killing a child, obviously you're going to go to jail for doing that also, but if you kill the wrong person, they could come back and kill you. So there's a lot of ways that could spin back on you. So if you're going to aim at somebody, make sure you're killing who you're aiming at. This is a problem on every level. It's a problem when people are killing each other in the streets of Brooklyn. It's a problem when people are killing each other in a war with trained military professionals. Oftentimes people get killed who you don't aim at. And spoils of war, I guess, but tough. So far, haven't missed the midst of drama. Now I notice him pick me up at the lowest. It's an honor. The first line, don't have too much to say about. If you guys have anything else, leave it in the comments. But now I notice him pick me up at the lowest. It's an honor. That kind of calls back to the line I was just talking about. The wounded healer. That's kind of the trope here. Picking people up when you're at your lowest is one of the most honorable things you can do. So when you're broken and hurt, one of the things it does for you is you can recognize when other people are broken and hurt, and maybe you can give them a couple tips on like what's been working for you and trying to get out of that. Or just sitting there and talking and relating about the situation. Sometimes just listening is all somebody needs. So the wounded healer, the broken person, bringing up other people is a very, very honorable trope. Now I notice and pick... Oh, no, I just did that line. A monk swore me a vow of silence to the Jakes. A monk swore me a vow of silence to the Jakes. A monk swore a vow of silence to the Jakes. I think that the Jakes is the police. So he's talking about, like, priests swearing silence. Monks, I just assume, are priests swearing silence when it comes to police matters. And, yeah, I mean, I've said it before, like... Priests, popes, they're not immune to sinning. I mean, it's taught in the Bible that we're all sinners. So there's been horrible popes, and there's been really, really good popes too. And it's the same with priests. And sometimes it happens where, you know, they pick sides when they shouldn't. You're supposed to not pick sides. And it seems like that happens from time to time. It's not something that I've been aware of, but I also don't live in an impoverished neighborhood where horrible things are happening all the time. Thank the Lord I don't live somewhere like that, truly, because Ka paints an image that I'm glad I don't have to go through the stuff that Ka went through. Our yogis did stretches upstate. So this is just, another reference to the monks. Yogis, I mean, I'm not going to give a history of yoga here, but I mean, 25-year-old blonde girls teaching yoga in upstate New York isn't exactly what yoga is supposed to be, to say the least. Our Sir Lancelot's at round tables cutting eighths. So, again, this is a reference back to the first line of the song. His idols in life cutting drugs around a table. His Sir Lancelot's. Our mogul just caught another case. Again, the people he looked up to doing bad stuff all the time. Started with less, then progressed to bare minimum. So, I mean, that's a very, very clever line. So started with less than anything, and then progressed to bare minimum. So he started with less than anything and went up to bare minimum. So if you could, like, put yourself in that headspace, like... deprived, super deprived. Can't just happen upon no chips. Gotta be here winning them. So you can't just come across money. You gotta go out there and win it. And winning it could be winning it at a card game, or it could be winning it in the game of cops and robbers, robber versus robber, that sort of thing. Shooting people, taking their money. That's what food is for. Hungry if you lose or draw. So if you lose or draw, you're going to go hungry. You have to win. That's just the mentality you have to have when you're hungry. You're starving in the streets. You got to fight for your survival. Every session, I'm pressing to press jewels galore. This is in reference to basically every single line we've gone over so far. So every session, he's pressing. Pressing is like how you create diamonds. So that's a cool metaphor there. To press jewels galore, which there is jewels galore in every song we've gone over. Pretty much every bar I've talked about, I've had something to say about it. Whether that's been in depth or not, it kind of varies, but there is a lot here. I think it's pretty obvious that Ka puts a lot of meaning into his lyrics. Used to violate, trying to make, that's what's every move was for. Used to violate, trying to make, that's what every move was for. So that's just... again, in reference to doing bad stuff to get by. The only particular mission of the crew was accruing more. This is just in reference to the whole team, the whole crew. The only mission was to get more stuff. Of course, that only leads you so far. Once you've been able to eat and shelter yourself, more money doesn't really provide much happiness. I think it's something like anything above, I think 60 or 80K a year, I believe it is, doesn't provide you any more happiness. And I believe in that. I've seen people who have lots and lots of money, millions of dollars, and I've seen people who don't have much, who are kind of living paycheck to paycheck, and the happiness levels are pretty much the same, to be completely honest with you. And I've seen both sides of it, obviously not to the extremes of Ka. Obviously, you don't want to be starving every night, but yeah, once you get to a certain point, curing more doesn't do much for you. With impressive steel, dressed to kill, you know the lifestyle. With impressive steel, obviously referencing guns, dressed to kill, probably all black, Nike Air Forces. You know the lifestyle. Hit the curb to serve the early bird and the night owl. So, you know, who's going to be on the side of the corner? The early bird and the night owl, right? They kind of cross over at that time of night. And he's saying, like, he hit the curb to shoot either of them. I'm just assuming. To fix these broken pockets, had to break some hearts. Again, a reference to killing people. So, in order to fill his pockets and get the food that he needs to eat, he had to break some hearts by... I mean, I guess I shouldn't say explicitly killing people. Ka doesn't say anywhere in his songs that he explicitly killed anybody. I just want to make that clear. But it's somewhat implied. I mean, it could be that he cheated on somebody to get money, but I don't know how that would work. Can't be bothered to hit your target, gotta make some marks. Can't be bothered to hit your target, gotta make some marks. So I think this is back in reference to killing what you aim at. You have to know what you're shooting at, otherwise things get bad really quick. Quiet and frigid disposition, growing up in the cold. So quiet and frigid disposition, quiet and frigid, obviously in reference to winter, growing up in the cold, growing up in the winter. I mean, Brooklyn's not nearly as cold as where I live. Where I live, you can get it to like -40, -50 Celsius. And speaking from experience, that does bring people together. I find that in the winter, people are a lot nicer on the roads. People are pulling people out of ditches. People are shoveling other people's driveways, wiping off their cars of snow. It's very common to see. I think it's a reason why Canada is so nice, if you want to call us that, so polite. It's really just in the winter. In the summer, we act like Americans. I think maybe slightly nicer. I don't know. We do say sorry a lot, but in the winter, there's definitely a communal bond that happens in just about every community because we're fighting the elements now. We're not fighting each other. And having that unifying force is important. I mean, you're seeing it in America right now from the 90s till about today. It's been pretty fractured. People have been fighting each other internally. It's because of the lack of the external threat, which was the Soviet Union for so many years. But here in Canada, it's the weather. And in Ka's song, he's saying that like those cold winters gave him a frigid and quiet disposition, which, I mean, fair enough. If you're going through the cold, it does make you rather cranky when you have to wake up in the morning and it's freezing outside. But in my experience, it brings people together. But also, New York doesn't get as cold as Canada. Surprised I ain't get high from what I was low enough to behold. Cool way of putting that line together. I'm surprised I didn't get high from what I was low enough to behold. So he's selling drugs, obviously, and he never got high off of them. That's a good thing. Don't get high on your own supply is a line for a reason. Like when Pops shot at the neighbor's shot, put one in his head. So I think this is just a direct reference to when his dad shot at the neighbor's store and either accidentally or on purpose shot that guy in the head. He knew how he grew me, threw me the gun, 100 and fled. So his dad trusted that he knew how he raised his son already to be kind of, street savvy. So he threw him the gun. Hey, get rid of this kid. And then he fled. Tough scenario to go through with your dad. Didn't play for Poe a pros dispose of Exhibit A. brilliant rhyme scheme there, but basically saying that he didn't play around. He disposed of the Exhibit A, which would be the gun, Exhibit A in a crime scene. Cool line there. I was raised to age a few years in a day. Brilliant, brilliant line. I was raised to age a few years in a day. So sometimes when you're in really, really tough scenarios in life, like living in Brownsville, like living in the Middle East, like living in some areas in South America, you're going to age years in a day just from the stuff that you see. Traumatic stuff ages you quickly. It grows you up. Anybody who's been through extreme trauma, I'm not talking like familiar, like family trauma, that's one level, but anybody who's been through like extreme trauma knows what that's like. It ages you quick. You have to, it keeps you up at night too, because you got to come to terms with what you saw, and then the PTSD, and it's complicated, but it's true. And it's a brilliant line too. It paints imagery in your head. If not elite, didn't eat. If you didn't pray, so you better be praying if you want to eat. It's a lot of religious themes in cause music. Obviously, with the album being called Descendants of Cain. As much as I heal, had to deal. All my scars here to stay. Another cool line. As much as you heal in life, as much as you get better, become a better person, change, all things are possible. You can become a better person, but those scars are here to stay. And that's not something that you should be sad about. It's not something you should be proud about. It should be somewhere in the middle. They're here to stay to remind you of not only what you were, but what you could become again if you slip. So those scars are important, and I think it's almost better to have scars than to not. If you go through this life scarless, then you're just going to be weak your whole life. In order to really find strength in life, I think you have to go through hardships and heal from it and acknowledge your scars. That's what Ka's pointing to there. Our senseis spent days peddling. Our heroes sold heroin. I don't have too much to say about those last two lines. I think as much as I heal, had to deal, all my scars here to stay. I think that's a good line to go out on. It's a deep line. Something to think about. There's quite a few bars in this song that you guys should think about. Write down. I find writing down lyrics of my favorite songs very useful, just to keep track of them for one, just to kind of have like pages of poetry that I enjoy, even if they don't fit together because I'm taking little segments out of songs. But having those lines that you really connect with, I think, is important to keep on your mind and think about, because, rappers are poets. They are. And obviously, in Ka's case, an amazing poet. One of the best I've ever come across. So that's going to conclude my analysis for Patron Saints today. I'm probably going to do Pray and Land of Nod next, and then I'll do the last couple tracks off of the album and conclude Descendants of Cain. If you guys want me to do any other of Ka's albums, please let me know. That would be a lot of fun for me. I find Ka to be a very easy rapper to talk about. He doesn't use too many swear words, which is good for YouTube, and he also has a lot of deep messages in his lyrics, so there's a lot for me to kind of talk about. Some other rappers, maybe like Drake, like I don't really have much to say because the lyrics are so shallow. But let me know in the comments who you guys want me to cover. I'll literally do anybody. I'd love to do Makami. I know I've said before he's like my favorite rapper, if not top 3. But if you don't know, none of his lyrics are available anywhere online. So I won't be doing Makami. Maybe I'll do like a collection of his lyrics that I like, the ones that I can hear and know what he's saying. But unfortunately, with the distortion that he uses in his voice, him switching from English to Creole to other languages sometimes, it's hard to analyze his songs. But maybe one day he'll release his lyrics so I can do that. For now, I'll just cover artists like Billy Woods or whoever you guys let me know. Let me know in the comments who you guys want me to cover next. I'm done talking for today. Leave a like and subscribe. It always helps boost this channel in the algorithm. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and peace.